Did you think playing fluid fingerstyle would be easy? Because I did. I studied music in college, and I've taught hundreds of guitarists over the last 15 years. There was a lot of trial and error. There were plenty of things I wish I could do over again, and things I'd just known how to do smarter. So to help make your folk fingerstyle journey easier, here are 14 things I've discovered to help you get the most focus, the most quality, and the most fun from your guitar playing. Lesson 1. My student MJ was struggling to practice consistently. She worked full time, she just bought a new house, and she was struggling to find the motivation after a long day. So I had her commit to practicing with a timer set for 15 minutes. And her first week was nearly a perfect consistency of 15 minutes per day. And better yet, some days she practiced even more. The lesson here is to set a timer for 15 minutes, especially when motivation or just getting started is the hardest part. Lesson 2. Past Allie would wake up on the weekends to rush plans and chores, and I was not getting any practice in. So most weekends I wake up and make coffee first thing. I decided to make a practice ritual. So once I grabbed my cup of coffee, I would grab my guitar and practice for about a half hour. And nowadays, I rarely miss because I look forward to this and it's something I really enjoy. The lesson here, attach your practice to a habit or a ritual you already do. Maybe it's after lunch, maybe it's after dinner for you. This is also called habit stacking. Lesson 3. My student Steven was stuck on the same song for weeks. Not only was he frustrated, but he started to think he wasn't ever going to be a good enough guitarist. We booked a practice audit, and we figured out he wasn't getting or hitting the hard spots with as much repetition or monotony as sometimes needed. You just gotta hit those spots over and over again sometimes. And once he started practicing the tricky spots thoroughly, he finally surpassed that wall that was holding back for several weeks. So the lesson here, if you're willing to practice deliberately on 20 minutes of a tricky spot, that is often way more productive than 2 hours of a shallower practice. Lesson 4. I am constantly telling my students and anyone else who will listen to slow down their practice. So here's just another friendly reminder. When you're actually practicing something you suck at, speed isn't the goal. Accuracy is. The lesson here, slow down to 10x your practice effectiveness, because it's not how fast you can play it, it's how slow you can do it accurately. That is from the Talent Code. Great book. Lesson 5. Another student of mine, Joe, wanted to learn more complex chords up the neck. You know, the caged method and the triads and all that fancy stuff. But when I assigned a song with some embellished C chords, like C major 7 and C add 9, he stumbled his way through. So we took a moment to talk about what his goals were and what was most useful for him with his current path. We decided it was more important to master the open chords and embellishments first because of the material he wanted to pursue, at least for now. So the lesson here is to protect your goals. Like meditate on them, reflect on them, keep them within sight or reach, because shiny object syndrome will kill us all, or at least our goals, metaphorically. Lesson 6. Ellie kept mentioning how achy her body felt after practice. She mentioned that she felt much more comfortable sitting on the chairs in my studio than at home. So we figured out that she was sitting on a couch that was a bit too low, and it was causing her legs to fall asleep and cramp. So she bought a chair. So once we dialed in her holding position, she could practice for way longer and with way less pain and ache. So the lesson here is check your holding position, Make sure there's no harsh angles between joints and knees and hips and wrists and all that stuff. Maybe you get a strap. Maybe you get a stool to put your foot on so it brings your guitar closer to you. I'm going to make a video on this, so stay tuned. Lesson 7. Sasha was a beginning guitarist who was doing the work and she was practicing, but it was coming a little slower for her. And she couldn't play a whole song. Didn't sound like music. It just sounded like chord transitions. So she was getting discouraged and it was affecting her motivation to practice. We found a 2-chord song, the America classic Horse with No Name, to just give her a boost of confidence to ultimately have a win and feel accomplished here and there. The lesson here is we do have to have some easy wins. Not everything in our practice has to be brutal and difficult. Don't forget to have some fun in your practice. Lesson 8. So I've had a song that I've been practicing on and off for about a decade. It's called Ragamuffin by Michael Hedges, but I never actually got it to the point of polished. So my friend Joe and I picked a day at the local open mic and committed to play a song that challenged us. Because of this, I practiced diligently and I was very aware that this date was creeping up, and I finally got it to the point where I could perform it. So the lesson here: make a deadline. Draw a line in the sand and make yourself cross over and do the thing. And bonus points if you find someone to hold you accountable. Lesson 9. I was helping my student Steven get the 4-string F chord down. It's the difficult one to get clear with this little bar chord, so it's a little challenging. He was getting pretty deflated after doing it for about 2 weeks, and we decided to change the timeline to master the chord to 6 months from then. And it actually turned out a month later he had it down. The lesson here is manage your expectations. We overestimate what we think we should have done or mastered in a matter of a week or two, but underestimate what we can do in a matter of 3 to 6 months. Lesson 10. A lot of guitarists come in wanting to play the quintessential fingerstyle song that Blackbird is. However, this song isn't friendly to beginner fingerstylers, and it skips a lot of the fundamentals and frameworks that can be learned and transferred to other songs. So instead, start with your foundations. Coordinate your picking hand. Learn some proper technique and play a few easy songs to give you a solid start. And then you can transfer that skill to Blackbird, and it should work a lot smoother. And you can feed 2 birds with 1 scone. So the lesson here is don't play Blackbird, at least at first. I love this song, but I don't recommend it as the first fingerstyle song to learn. My student Michael would freeze anytime he went to a guitar shop. He'd grab a guitar off the wall or the stand and suddenly he wouldn't remember anything to play. That became our goal. We worked out a system to help him memorize a song he would feel confident playing, either at the guitar shop or around the family room for a few guests. The lesson here is memorize at least 1 song. I call it the back pocket song, something you can pull out, at any moment's notice. Fun little tidbit is if you can play a song start to finish, memorize, you're officially ahead of 80% of the guitarists that I've talked to in the last 3 years. Oftentimes, there is a distortion between how you think you're playing versus what it actually looks and sounds like. For example, like my student Robert thought he was nailing a Travis style rhythm in practice, but when he watched the video back, he realized that he wasn't even close. The lesson here is to video or, just audio, record yourself often because you get more of the truth, right? When I recorded myself video, I noticed, especially early on, I had a tendency to frown, and that was really distracting from my performance. So once I was aware, I started to neutralize my face a little bit while I was playing. And for the record, there's not a lot of us who like to listen or see ourselves, but it does get better with time and you just become used to it. Lesson 13. My student Bernie joined my online crew to develop his fingerstyle skill set, but hadn't met a set of people in his area to play or connect with, and was feeling a tad disconnected from the real world. And he ended up finding a local bunch that got together once a month to jam and once a month to do an open mic. And he found this out from like a music store, and he actually went and he raved about playing and connecting with other guitarists and musicians. So the lesson here, go to the jam or the open mic, or better yet, host one yourself. Find your music people, use guitar as a connection tool. Playing guitar with others is magic. It's a magical feeling. Lesson 14. A few years back, I was teaching a gal who had an old classical guitar, the kind made of cardboard. You know the kind. And it wasn't easy to play. It didn't sound great, We talked about purchasing a small upgrade. I perused the local classifieds and we found a budget-friendly yet quality Yamaha, and all of a sudden everything changed. She liked how the guitar sounded. She practiced more because of it. It was easier to play, and she practiced longer. So she got better faster than she ever had. So the lesson here, invest in yourself. Invest in your brain. It doesn't have to be much, but if it helps you play more often or if it helps you grow, I think that's a good thing. Although all these lessons that I've just taught you are pretty powerful, if you don't know where to start with your fingerstyle, they might not be so helpful. So watch this next video where I'll show you exactly how to get your first foundations down.